down, yelling out money, anything, ayy. Ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the back, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy. Let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Hey guys, before we jump in, this episode is brought to you by the Transportation Intermediaries Association, the only trade association exclusively representing the 3PL industry. We talk about risk management every single week on this show. Chameleon carriers, strategic theft, brokers are under a microscope like never before. This is why you need the TIA in your corner. The TIA isn't just about networking. They provide a powerful voice in Washington, the best legal frameworks in the business, and a community that holds the line on ethics and excellence, not to mention valuable certifications. They do the work so you can scale securely and with confidence. The Transportation Intermediaries Association, connecting freight, powering the supply chain. Don't operate on an island. Join the elite. Go to tianet.org and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. This is your first time tuning in. Welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Friday, everybody. I got a very special guest for you guys. I'm going to bring him up in just a second. And this goes out to all of the viewers of this show who have been telling me I need to have more trucking companies and more drivers and more fleets on the show. And this is the 800th time I'm going to remind you all, you guys have an open invite. I need you guys to come on this show. I want to hear from you guys all, because let's be honest, no trucking company wants to hear how a trucking company should be ran from a broker, because God knows those opinions are all over the internet right now on what's going on out there. So we're going to be talking about this, what's going on in the market, and how to successfully sustain these times. And I'm going to have my good friend and welcome him, Mr. Harman Cheema, back on the show. Harman, thank you so much for jumping on here this morning.
Chris, hey, happy to be here again.
No, man, it's great. Like I always say, I want more of a trucking company and a fleet and a driver presence to come on the show, because it's, anytime there's any market shift out there, it's always easy to only look at like how this affects you and your business, right? And I think this is what is, it's still to this day, man, it's still lacking out there. It's just like actual fundamental conversations between the two of us, and how we can really bridge that gap out there, because at the end of the day, we got to work with each other. And, you guys are, you guys got a, big fleet, and you guys have your oon brokerage and everything. So you might see it a little bit differently than others out there, but, I think it's just imperative for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a good time for me to be back as a trucker, because truckers are finally hot again.
Yeah, right. Exactly, man. You guys are out there making it. It's but dude, I think it's, it's easy to look at these last 60 days and or maybe 90 days now in the market, and people are like, oh, rates are through the roof, drivers are cashing in and making all this money. And I think what's missed by a lot of people on the broker side of things is how much money trucking companies have lost these last 4 years and depleted their reserves and maxed out their credit lines and everything else just to stay afloat.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a chaotic 2.5, 3 years for a lot of us, especially us good truckers that have built big businesses that have, that aren't just fly by nights. Like, it took a lot to make it through here, and props to everybody who made it. And I'm thankful for our team and everything we've done to hopefully make it, to be able to make it this far. And now I think hopefully, better, greener shoots ahead.
Are you, so from your perspective right now, Harman, are you guys seeing what's going on at the FMCSA, like with the new registration system and everything? And is that more of like a finally, like, let's at least stop them from getting access to that stuff? Because and I had the FMCSA on the show a couple of weeks ago when the Modus thing was about to go live. And, in every fleet I've had out there, like my big fear is the legitimate providers are going to the bleeding's just too much at this point, right? Do you see this step as like it's at least going to hemorrhage to stop the bleeding, to keep the legitimate providers able to service in this industry?
Yeah, think of it like the airline industry, right? We don't want to be on airplanes where there's a huge risk from safety component, right? And I feel like trucking is no different. Besides, we're not moving humans, we're moving cargo, right? But at the same time, we're operating trucks all around other motoring public, which is a big deal, right? We're 80,000 pound bombs going down the road. So at the same time, it's very important for us to be safe. And so it's kind of a hallelujah. It's kind of a finally, but us truckers, we don't get too excited too quick because we know it's going to take a while. But at the same time, like, it got too loose and it was too easy, right? It was too easy to fraud. It was too easy to create a trucking company. It was too easy to get your authority or buy an authority, right? That trend started a few years ago, and it was just like, oh my God, how are we going to get our arms around this? Props to the FMCSA and everybody else involved that's working hard to get their arms around it. It's definitely a big task.
Yeah, it's like I think that what they have is it's a great first step. It's going to be interesting to see when like phase 2 and phase 3 rolls out of this, Harman, of like the existing providers, because one thing it's very hard to track is you're talking about people buying buying authorities and stuff out there. And I think I think that would shock a lot of people in this industry of how many businesses were, I don't even want to say acquired, just like transferred over, and how many unknowing individuals who sold their company are still on paper the owner of it. And these fraudsters paid them 20 grand or whatever, and they're still on the hook here. And in the event one of these horrific crashes happen again, like that individual who thought they got rid of their business 2 years ago is going to get pulled into court for that.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys, it's also the seller's fault, right? They didn't do everything they needed to. But at the end of the day, the people that were selling were in bad spots. They had to get rid of things and whatnot. But I'm on a lot of different like Facebook groups and stuff like that where, I'm just kind of just listening what's going on, and some of these trucking groups, and some of them are hilarious. But I always see on a majority of them, you can still see that, hey, Amazon or so-and-so broker shut me off. I'm looking to buy an authority, or I'm looking to buy an authority that's approved by this broker, kind of thing. And it's still happening. And I'm just like, wow, I would have never seen this in the early 2000s, right, when we started.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like, I think you brought up a really good point there is we've been in an environment where it has been very easy to fraudulently operate, right? And like you can have multiple authorities out there, and brokers aren't immune to this either, though, right? Like, I don't know what superiority complex the freight broker market seems to possess out there that we're not a major contributor to a lot of this stuff, because how many people out there, and again, I'm not blaming any organizations, but turned a blind eye to safety, turned a blind eye to the fact that there's a lot of vetting software that was pulling multiple authorities to like certain email addresses and phone numbers, and they continued to book that stuff, right? And then on top of it, just like there's chameleon carriers, there's chameleon brokers. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these guys have 5 or 6 authorities just sitting there behind the scenes, and they're just waiting to jump up and start doing it, right? Like, I think for me personally, standards are a good thing, and I want to see them continue to increase the standards out there. It's not going to affect my business because like my biggest fear in life is going to prison. So like, I'm not breaking the law knowingly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're not going to get to where we need to be until the shippers and the receivers and the carriers and the brokers, we're all on some kind of uniform system where we have to say, this is the driver, this is the truck coming to pick it up. And the shipper has to verify that, because we need their help big time, right? And it can't just be shippers. It's now we got 3PLs that are third party companies that are warehousing for these different shippers as well. We all got to be on the same page, and they got to make sure they're loading the right truck. That's where it ultimately starts, right? And so I'm hopeful that's where we'll go one day, but that's where honestly the industry needs to be.
What, I mean, from your perspective, how do you do that, right? Like, I mean, outside of you guys, you guys physically own, was it like what, over 300 trucks? Or is in
Yeah,
your
we
fleet?
got about 500 trucks, 2,000 trailers, and then our brokerage is growing. We're moving about 4,000 loads a month on that side. Which, talking about all this, that scares me. That kind of keeps me up at night. If you ask me, on the brokerage side, is knowing who the real driver is at the end of the day. Because I could be giving the load to Chris Jolly's company, but I don't really know Chris's driver at the end of the day. And I'm hoping you're doing the right things. And that's all we can do at that point, right? We got to build those relationships. We got to know who we're working with and hope that they're not too sided and this face over here to you and then doing whatever they need to do on that side, because that happens all day long.
How are you guys positioning yourself with that right now with your assets, right? Because I feel like no matter what, I think that on the legitimate operators out there are, I don't know when. I don't think like the real gold rush has started yet. I think it's going to come in because of what you're describing right there is like, all right, if you cannot prove who's hauling this freight on that level, like, so like, how are you positioning yourself out there in the market with your guys as customers where it's like, hey, you could go out there right now and yeah, you might find somebody cheaper, but like, do they have all of this, right? Do they have this insurance? Do they have this, verification process? Like, this is our actual truck showing up.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is good enough to get to the point to figure out this is the actual truck showing up just yet, because even if you ask for a picture or a FaceTime, we don't know if that truck's really at that dock, right? Like it involves a lot of time, and I feel like we're not there yet, and that's something we need to get to. And even geofences, like, look, we're all kind of the same age group. We know we can make fake locations and geofences and all that. Like, we got to get past all of that, right? And I think we got a lot of work to do to get there. But it's really scary for me. I don't want to throw any companies under the bus or bring them up, but at the same time, like if you look at C.H. Robinson, one of the biggest brokers in our industry, and they're also very good. I mean, they were the first broker Cheema Freightlines set up with ever, and I remember doing that big old fax packet to them back in 2006 when we started. And so thankful for the opportunity, but at the same time, like if you look at how many, like you can see on Reddit or whatever, how many loads are not being covered right now, how many carriers are actually shutting off, and the noise that we're seeing after that Supreme Court decision, right? It's kind of scary and mind-boggling to think that even a company that magnitude of size had these inefficiencies there, right? And had these people they were using with conditional ratings or whatever, right? Unsafe, right? So, or the new people. They're one of the first ones to bring in new carriers and give them a chance, right? So that's really scary, because at the end of the day, those people, when you tie it back into the economy, that's who's moving the country, right? And that's when we're drinking coffee or water or whatever, like who knows what truck and what condition that came in, right? And we're all a part of it. We all have something to do with it because we're the consumer.
Do you think the push for the digitization, the digital transaction in this industry has almost enabled this to operate at such a high level, right? Because it's almost, it's almost like a set it and forget it, Harman, right? Like, hey, you give carrier access to your load board, they're set up in your system, right? Like whatever parameters your company had set up, they're allowed to operate in there. So therefore, is that removing the human actually fanning the flame a little bit and making it just as bad, or if not worse now, because it's not me calling Harman, and I've worked with Harman for the past 5 years on every single load. Hey, Harman, where are you at this week? All right, boom, I'm going to send you over 5 tenders. That's gone, because but that's how I was raised to do this job, right? And I know that technology brings efficiencies in there, but I also look at it, and I'm still waiting for this. And I've asked everybody on the tech side that I know in this industry, what is the exact percentage of stolen and double brokered loads that are done on a digital transaction, i.e. only through email or through a load board with direct access to where the human is not a part of that transaction anymore?
Right. Oh, that's absolutely a big part of it for sure, right? When we do that all the time, we go into, when we got trucks in a market that we're short in, we'll go check all these big broker boards that we're set up with. And oftentimes my people have 30 trucks to cover or something. And so they're like, bid. Okay, we want this one, we want this one, we want this one. And then we don't even talk to them until somebody from tracking says, which is probably not even in this country, right? Usually says, hey, how's it going? Are you running on time for this pickup? So that's the interaction. And, you know, I know who we are, so we do a good job where we communicate and we know who our drivers are, but we have no idea when you're a broker on this side, do they really know who our drivers are and all those things, right? So from how are we doing from a trucking standpoint, from an asset standpoint, I think it's great. It's finally turning around. We're all in big, deep holes that we all need to dig out of. And the market is finally starting to realize the rates that we had were not sustainable. And so we're going back to our customers, whether we're on contracts or not, and say, look, guys, look, we understand this is the situation we're in, but at the same time, these rates are not sustainable. If you want us to be around and you need your good carriers to be around, we need money and we need to be able to invest. And we need more than money right now. We need to be able to invest in our drivers because their wages are going to go up, right? It's going to happen. And they need them. A lot of drivers haven't had wage increases in the last 3 years. And so they need them. We need to be able to invest in our equipment. A lot of truckers like us haven't been able to stay on their trade cycles. We used to trade trucks at every 3 years and keep them fresh and keep them new on the road. So they're out there and servicing, but we're getting our fleet's aging a little bit, right? So we have some work to do to catch back up on that, which costs money. So we need a little bit more than just good to get out of this hole to be sustainable again. And on the brokerage side, we have our challenges, right? Like if I put my broker hat on, all these things are challenges. I got to pay my carriers more. I got to quote freight today on the spot market and hope tomorrow's rate doesn't go ballistics, which it is. And so that's happening a lot. We just texted a customer earlier today saying, hey, look, this is going to cost $2-3 grand more a load on all of these that we had got tendered earlier this week, and hoping they come back and work with us, because at the end of the day, it's not sustainable for anybody to just keep taking losses, right? So yeah. I feel like that's what's going on across the board right now.
No, it really is, right? Like it's very challenging to, I like the best advice I can give to anybody is you gotta legitimately remind your customers every single time, like, hey, this is today's rate. Like if this is I'm quoting this to pick up in 2 days, like you got to add buffers at this point in time. You really do, because the market is not, there's no sustainability out there to where it's like, hey, if I quote $2,000 today, it's going to move for $2,000 on Monday or Tuesday of next week, right? It could be $4,000, right? And I think that's the challenge that a lot of individuals need. They need to find the solution to. And, because it's like, I'm very hesitant to quote out anything in the future for my customers right now, specifically if it's like a project over a 2-month period. I mean, I just let my customer know on one of this exact same situations, Harman. I'm like, hey, I can commit to this price for June. I'm like, anything later than that, we got to bring it up at that time, because who knows, it might drop. I don't think it's going to, but it might be double at that point, right? It's very challenging to find that kind of that common ground that's out there, because it is a point, but this is honestly though, in my opinion, this is when the job gets fun, because it's like, this is where you're out there to actually find those. As a broker, you're out there to actually, you can find those carriers who, yeah, they're here to make money, but they're able to find out their capacity schedule, right? Like we have one guy right now, a couple of our owner operators that we've got him booked up on loads we've got him on like 5 loads right now, right? Where it's like we're telling our customer like, hey, this guy, he's picking up today in Arizona. He's going to deliver on Monday in Colorado. He'll be back down on Tuesday in Arizona to pick up another load. So that load you want to pick up on Monday, I can move it on Tuesday for you with this guy. And they're like, hey, take it. Boom, book him. We'll take it.
Yeah, when that works and you're doing that and they start realizing who the actual driver is and the owner operator or the carrier, and they're like, yeah, instead of Monday, let's do it on Tuesday because it's XYZ trucking again. Yeah, heck yeah, that guy was awesome. Driver was polite, great equipment. Yeah, let's do that. Well, that's when it starts getting really fun, right? And
yeah, so, but that to me though, Harman, that's the way it used to be done.
Yeah, I was just thinking that right now. That's how it used to be, and those are the relationships we used to have. And I feel like technology is our worst enemy at the same time. That's what we got away from, right? And it became so transactional. Brokerage was always transactional, quote unquote, but it became way more transactional after that happened. And those relationships, a lot of those just went away.
No, and that's it, right? Where and I think like I think what we saw was when there was so much chaos that happened around the COVID era. I know it's been 5 years, but I think people tend to forget that people's attention spans are only as good as the length of a TikTok reel, right? Like people do not remember what that was like. But if you look back and when you get that comfort of like, hey, it's good enough is the biggest enemy out there from a new business development perspective. But like right now, more than ever, I know new business is slow for a lot of people. Whether, I know people online love to boast about how much they're just killing it with new business. I personally haven't seen that inside of my organization. We're still slow on the new business side of things, but our existing customers are growing, right? Like we're getting more volume from them. But this is that time where it's like you have to stay very present with your prospects because it is only a matter of time before that service failure, that load just gets rolled another day and another day. They're like, we just need somebody different to come in and start working on this freight.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the number one thing that's happening right now, right? The big reset, quote unquote. So, but I mean, this is where relationships with our carriers, relationships with our customers are ultimately that much important and that much more important. And we say this a lot, right? Relationships with our carriers, right? That's the buzzword. And that's the things that we see on LinkedIn from everybody trying to, pump their chest saying, yeah, I got these relationships with our carriers. But at the end of the day, like you got to realize a relationship with a carrier who's been hauling a load on a lane for $2,500. And now you're forcing them to say, hey, you've been doing this for $2,500. Like, why are you not doing it anymore? And then you get pissed off and you guys break away. And the guy did a great job for you the last 12 months or 10 months or whatever. You got to realize that they're seeing the market too. They got to go make money. They've been in bad situations. They probably committed to it. I had the same conversation with a customer earlier this month and saying, they're like, well, you just bid on this in January. Well, I understand. But in January, if I didn't bid on this at this rate, I probably wouldn't have gotten it, which meant I probably would have put myself and my drivers in a worse situation than we're in. And so you got to realize, like, it's everybody's doing, right? It's the truckers, the brokers, we're all bidding on these rates. And then it's the customers for going down the route of the top 5 lowest rates or the top 10 or whatever. Let's not say the first one in this case, but like you got to realize like we're only as competitive as the market makes us. That doesn't mean the market is profitable or sustainable, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's the key. And hopefully this cycle isn't a 24, 36 month cycle. And we actually get to the point where it's a little bit longer than that. We have room to breathe. We can invest in our industry again. We can invest in recruiting and retention and all those things. And hopefully the pipeline stays tight and if there's going to be more trucking companies, drivers coming in, make it the good ones, make it the people that are going to be doing good for the industry coming in. If that happens, like amazing, right? I don't know if it's going to happen, but that'll be awesome.
No, I agree with that, right? Like I look at it where I always, I always laugh at broker math out there and brokers trying to educate trucking companies. I'm like, oh, this is what you actually need out there in the market and everything else. And it's pretty funny. I don't understand why people get so offended. I used to get offended, but like at this point, I'm like, if I quote somebody at $5,000 on a load and they say they need $7,000 on a load, I don't get pissed off. I'm like, okay. I mean, like, cool. That's just that freight moves at whatever the truck is willing to move before that day. Like it's as simple as that. And I think that just because, and I think like a lot of it is most providers, most sales reps, whether they're a broker or maybe even on the asset side, they're afraid to have that conversation with their customer. They're afraid to call their customer and say, this is what it needs today. And if you're not willing to do that, especially right now, you're going to have a very challenging time because this isn't going to slow down anytime soon, right? Like the only way I could see anything remotely cooling off is if diesel drops $1 a gallon. Then I could see
cool off. It shouldn't impact the line haul, right? We're still line haul still needs to be where it needs to be.
But that's what I could see pushback happening is if something happens out there where everything stops in Iran and then diesel prices drop $1, I could see something like that to where that could stoke a conversation from the shipper community at that time. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you're right. It doesn't change the line haul pricing out there. But I look at it is it, from a capacity standpoint, it's down overall. It's not at a deficit though. And I think if capacity does leave the market continuously and it does drop into that deficit, then you guys have all the pricing power in the world to sustain to go in there and hold firm on your rates.
Yeah. And we all know there's still more super egos out there. Like there's
Correct.
still more bombs that are going to be dropped on those things, right? And some of these carriers are big carriers, and so there's still some of that effect that still needs to get cleaned out of the market. But at the same time, like it can't come back down, like unless, because there's no drivers coming in. The truck stops, or the truck driving schools have been kind of stopped. The DMVs and everybody's under pressure, so there's no, like, I don't see it coming back. I don't see it going back down at all by any means to that level, because they're still taking non-domicile drivers away state by state. I just heard Ohio or somebody took it away, like 9,000 away. We're gonna take 9,000 away the other day. And this morning, I was listening to the news in the morning a little bit on just what the industry's doing, the stock market's doing, and whatnot. And then I filter everything else out. But the jobs index report is still up. Jobs are up, so that's a good sign. So the economy at the highest fuel that we've ever paid in our lives, probably. The economy is kind of going, that there's jobs available now, and finally things are starting to move again, and that's what it's going to take, right?
No, for sure. And that's another. So I'm right there with you. I think the biggest economic indicator that I have been recently paying attention to is consumer credit card debt and personal loan delinquencies, and those are still kind of like sky high. So once that starts to trend back down, and Americans are going to do what Americans do and max out their credit cards, I think that will be another really good sign for the freight market overall, because I think that's another thing that I think is kind of teetering on it is if people can't afford to eat, that's a problem, right? And you could see that being a thing. But again, I think like right now, we need more of that clean. Like you brought up a good point with the super. I think super ego is just the tip of the iceberg. I think you are going to see massive operations that are going just like that are flying under the radar right now, or they're going to slowly start to liquidate themselves out of the market, because this is what we need the FMCSA and the DOT to continue to do. We really need them to continue to tighten and drop the hammer on these operations, because in my opinion, if they are legitimately concerned that there's going to be repercussions for their actions, they're going to go away. But I think like what might create like a windfall of this here, Harman, coming up is they can see the finish line, and it's gonna be a mad dash for cash. They're gonna try and do as much fraudulent activities as possible over the next 6 months. And then we're all gonna leave on a Friday thinking it's all normal. And then Monday we're gonna come in and there's gonna be like 40% less trucks on the road.
Yep. And that's kind of what happened when California took away 13,000 drivers, 13,000 non-domiciles. It took about a week and a half for us to really feel it. So that week, that Monday, because it happened on like that Friday, and people still weren't, they didn't really know. A lot of people were still driving. I know a number of guys who had some of these drivers, knew of these drivers and whatnot. And I was like, are they off the road yet, or what's going on, right? And a lot of them were like, no, they're still out there. They're still on the way back. We haven't heard anything, whatever, right? They were just looking the other way. And then about a week and a half later, shit hit the fan, right? Like that's when it went crazy. And California is a big economy, and it really impacts what we do.
No, we felt it here in Arizona, right? Like
we moved. Arizona's hot as hell right now. We can't get a truck out of Arizona to go to the Northwest for under $6,500 right now on dry gas. It's crazy.
Dude, we felt it, because like I called my customer at that time, because I was like, what the hell happened to all of this capacity? Because I was calling some of my guys and like, dude, I'm not leaving California right now. Like I'm fucking staying where I'm at. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then I saw those reports that they removed 13,000 CDLs. Like I had to call my customer in Arizona here, and I'm like, hey, FYI, this is what's going on. And they're like, wait, what? What does this even mean? So it was explaining a lot of that stuff out there. But again, it's like it will boil down to that. For you to survive this swing, whether you're a carrier or a broker, you got to have these difficult conversations with your customer. But to me, it's like I will never knowingly bid on freight at a loss. I don't know how people do that at all. It's like I would rather just not have the risk on my books and not break even or knowingly lose money. But I know that that's still somebody's thing, right? Because they still think that they're going to be able to find that cheaper truck out there who's going to do it.
No, and if I can, before we get off, or before we're out of time, on that note, I feel like with this new ruling and the tightness, I just hope that all these investment PE firms that are investing into these large brokerages that are all just focused on top line, and then we'll worry about the bottom line later and just losing their ass. I hope that investment stops stops coming into the market, because that's bad for the business. And they need to start looking at figuring out how they're actually going to get returns, right? And so that will help the industry as well.
I think there is going to, my prediction is there's going to be a freeze on that type of investment for a while. I don't know. I'm not a finance guy, but I've become, I pay a lot of attention to risk, Harman, and like risk mitigation and a lot of that stuff. And I personally think that revenue at all costs model, which a lot of brokers over these past couple of, there's been a lot of big name brokers that have exited the market that, from what I've heard off record from people, they never made $1. Right. They were burning capital. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, it'd be really fucking easy to run a business when you don't have to worry about turning a profit, right? Where you're just like, you have like an endless cash flow, and then you're like, oh, cool, we'll just exit. And again, I'm not saying these guys were running shitty operations or anything like that, but that type of investment, that type of operation, I don't know if that's going to be appealing to the investment community, especially not with this SCOTUS ruling, right? Like, nobody likes risk. That's a lot of risk that can be potentially coming down the pipeline here.
Yeah. In my book, if you're in transportation and you're not making any money and you just keep going just for top line and not worried about the bottom line, you're running a shitty operation. For other businesses and tech companies and whatever, that's totally different. But transportation is not that.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. Harman, thank you so much for your time. I know you got a business to run. I appreciate you jumping on here today. If you guys are hiring anything like that, how does anybody reach out to you guys to find out more?
Go to teamcheema.com. T-E-A-M, Cheema, C-H-E-E-M-A.com. And we're hiring for drivers. Actually, my recruiter just right before this, my VP of recruiting just told me that he thinks we got all of our trucks that were unseated filled for next week. So
hell yeah. Let's go, man. Harman, I appreciate your time. That's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything.